You've probably had that light bulb moment, right? An idea for a cool app or maybe just a simple little tool to make your life easier, and you've thought, how do I actually make that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole process using Python. We're going to go from a totally blank page to a real working program, and we'll do it step by step. This quote from Programming with Mosh really hits the nail on the head. Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around learning Python is to think of it just like learning Spanish or French. Seriously, English has grammar rules, right? Well, Python has its own set of rules, and we call that syntax. And if you mess up the grammar in a sentence, well, the computer, just like a person, is going to look at you and have no idea what you're trying to say.
Okay, so if we're writing in this new Python language, how in the world does the computer actually understand us? I mean, computers only speak in ones and zeros, right? The answer is pretty simple, actually. Our code, which is really just plain text that we can read, needs a translator.
And that magical translator has a name, the Python interpreter. Just picture it as your own personal language expert sitting right there with you. Every single line of Python you write, it takes it and bam, translates it on the fly into instructions the computer can actually execute. It's the crucial bridge that connects what's in your head to what the machine does. All right, so before we can start building, we need to get our workshop set up. You wouldn't try to build a table without a saw and hammer, right? Same thing with coding. So let's talk about your Coder's Toolkit. So the most important tool you'll have is the place where you actually write your code. You've got two main choices. On one hand, you have a simple code editor. Think of it like a very basic notepad, but for code. On the other hand, you have an IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. Now this is the real deal. It's like a supercharged code editor that comes packed with all these awesome built-in power tools. And we're going to focus on a really popular one, Visual Studio Code. So what are these power tools I'm talking about? Well, think of linting as your code's personal spell check and grammar checker. It spots mistakes as you make them. Then there's autocompletion, which is basically like the predictive text on your phone, but for code. It saves you a ton of typing. And finally, code formatting. This is amazing. It automatically cleans up your code, making it look neat and professional, so you don't even have to worry about it. Okay, we're all geared up. We have our fancy workshop. Now let's talk about the lumber and the nails, the raw materials. These are the absolute fundamental building blocks you'll need to create literally anything in Python. The most basic, most important building block of all is something called a variable. And honestly, the easiest way to picture it is just as a labeled box. That's it. You slap a name on the outside of the box, and then you can put some piece of information, we call it a value, inside it to use later. So what kind of stuff can we actually put in these little boxes? Well, Python has different types of containers for different jobs. For any kind of text, like a person's name, you use a string. For a whole number, like someone's age, that's an integer. If you need a number with a decimal point, like the price of a coffee, that's a float. And for any simple yes or no situation, you've got the Boolean, which can only ever be true or false. Simple as that. Okay, we've got our tools, we've got our raw materials, our variables. Now it's time to actually build something. This is where we bring our code to life. It's the moment we go from just storing information to making our program actually think and do things. Think about any useful app or program you've ever used. At its core, it's making decisions, right? But how does a bunch of text on a screen actually make a choice? What gives it a brain? Well, it all comes down to a simple but powerful idea, the if statement. It's pure, simple logic. If some condition is true, say a user is over 18, then the program does one thing. Otherwise, it does something else. This is it. This is the key to making a program feel interactive and smart. Okay, but what about doing the same thing over and over? I mean, programmers are famously lazy, in a good way. We definitely don't want to write the same line of code 100 times. So how do we make a program do repetitive work for us? The answer is a loop. A for loop is basically your personal robot for automation. You just hand it a list of things, like a list of names, and you tell it what to do. The loop then goes through the list, one item at a time, performs that action, and moves on to the next one, until it's all done. It's incredibly powerful and saves you so much work.
All right, here we go. This is the moment we've been building up to. We have our tools, we have our building blocks, the variables, and we have the logic with if statements and loops. Now, let's put it all together and build our very first honest-to-goodness interactive program.
We're going to make a classic Mad Libs game. It's super simple. First, we just write out our little story template. Now, see that little F right before the quote? That's kind of like a little flag for Python. It tells it, hey, get ready, we're going to stick a variable in here in just a second. Next up, we need to get a word from the person playing the game. We do that with the input function. This line of code will pop up a question, and whatever the user types, we're going to catch it and store it right inside one of our little boxes, a variable that we've named adjective. And now for the big reveal. We print our story again using that special F string. But this time, inside these curly brackets, we put the name of our variable, adjective. As soon as Python sees that, it opens up the box, grabs the word the user gave us, and plugs it right into the sentence. And boom, you get a new custom story every single time. And just like that, we've gone from a simple idea to a finished creation. You just saw the entire blueprint right there. You take a few simple building blocks, variables, getting user input, and printing stuff out, you combine them in a creative way, and you get something that's actually interactive. That right there is the heart and soul of programming. So there you have it. You now have the basic blueprint. You've seen the tools for the job, you know the raw materials you need to work with, and you've learned the basic techniques to bring an idea to life. So really, there's only one question left to ask. What are you gonna build first?